Hey guys, it's Hink here. Today we're going to be talking about the #1 requested topic based on the post that I made on getting bigger. And so we're going to address that question, so stay tuned. Hey guys, so on the subreddit Getting Bigger, I posted a question as far as what topic do you want me to discuss, and the user Piece of Shart 69, which is the best username I've probably seen, had a question regarding pumping, and so interval pumping versus traditional pumping. So let's break it down piece by piece. I assume he means like, what is my take on that? I've always been more in favor of shorter interval pumping, okay? The max that I'd ever recommended was about 7 minutes. That being said, this new interval pumping tends to be more like 2 to maybe like 3 minute intervals. To me, it's something very similar. Like, guys, keep in mind, this is just my take, okay? If you ask like BD or if you ask Perv, you know, if you ask any of these other guys on the subreddit what they think, they might have a different opinion, because the bottom line is like there's not that much science behind this. But so for my take personally, like interval pumping, the way I understand it based on like the videos I've watched from BD and whatnot, is that it's more looking at like collagen tension and like relaxation and that like stress and relax mechanism. I hope I'm not butchering that, BD, if you're even seeing this video. I personally prefer a little bit longer sets, and so by a little bit longer I mean 5 to 7 minutes. And so why is that? Well, personally, I am extrapolating data not from collagen fibrils and whatnot, but actually from things like megalophallus, an actual medical condition. I made a whole video about it, where the tunica of the penis chronically dilates and you get this enlarged massive penis. If you look at those situations, it's based on these chronic priapismal episodes.
Why don't you explain this to me like I am an 8-year-old?
What does that mean? Well, when you basically have an erection that doesn't go away, typically for sometimes even hours and hours and hours, okay? Even like sometimes 12, 24 hours, it is in fact a medical emergency. But as a result of having these like severe priapismal episodes, you can actually have a chronically like dilated, the tunica actually dilates. It's actually called like an aneurysmal dilation when you look at the papers on megalophallus. I talk all about it in that video, megalophallus. Basically, that is what I'm more so trying to mimic in a sense, because it's not like they're having 2 minutes of like priapism, and it's certainly not like they're having 5 to 7 minutes. And so it's kind of like pedantics or like semantics. But I think that more growth, in my theory, is from like chronic exposure to stressors causing expansion and dilation and lengthening over time. I don't personally feel that it is much about the like collagen and rest and recovery and whatnot. Now, that being said, you know, some of these other guys claim that they've gained, oh, you know, I've gained, like, I think Perv just made a post and he's like, I've gained 2.2 inches in, you know, whatever X amount of time. If those are truly his gains, which he should be providing evidence soon, and I'm certainly anxious to see it, then, you know, maybe that is the key, is this like collagen stress and relaxation, and then they figured it out, and like that's going to be the key. Personally, I think that, you know, my gains have been, you know, relatively impressive, you know, 1.5 inches over 3 years, but I just don't, all right, bottom line, I don't think interval pumping, if so a total time of, let's say, 20 minutes of pumping in intervals is going to be any different than doing 4 sets of 5 minutes versus like 10 sets of 2 minutes. Personally, I don't feel like that's going to be the case. Now, you have to understand that I've only kind of dabbled with interval pumping because I do have an air pump now, and sometimes I'll pump it up and it does get uncomfortable in my pelvis and I'll have to deflate it at 2 minutes. And so I don't really notice a difference. The biggest thing is the longer you're set, the higher the risk of edema. So that's why I don't recommend you pump longer than, honestly, 5 to 7 minutes, because at that point you're just drawing in additional fluid. Bottom line, I personally don't think there's a meaningful difference between interval pumping versus like traditional 5 sets of pumping. I definitely think that like air pumping going in Flaccid and air pumping for 10 minutes, I think that is not going to lead to any kind of permanent gains whatsoever. And I also think that that's why pumping gets a bad name, because it's just the edema rather than expansion of the chambers when you pump going in Flaccid. So, Angion, back before I had my YouTube channel, back when I was relatively new on the scene, maybe like 8 months in, me and the founder of Angion, Janice Bifrons, I'll see if my editor can put up a little like his little weird saw emoji or whatever it's called. He basically went to the different subreddits and said that I'm a fraud, I'm not a real doctor, and that before anybody takes anything I say seriously, that I have to provide some evidence of actually that I am a medical doctor. I got copies of these messages that were sent to the different moderators, and I publicly put him on blast and said, basically, you're a douchebag. And I also posted a redacted version of my actual medical license at the time. I have since taken that down, but I posted that as proof that I am actually licensed to practice both medicine and surgery. That being said, that has like sullied the name of Angion. Anytime I hear it, I just think of his videos where he literally has a video where he talks about how, God, I don't want to misquote him.
But he's like, a lot of people think the job of the heart is to pump blood throughout the rest of the body, but that's not in fact the job.
And I'm just like, how are people listening to this guy when he's just like blatantly saying like medical inaccuracies? And it's also little kind of pedantic things that like other people do, but I give him more crap about, like the difference between angiogenesis and arteriogenesis. And you know, it's kind of a little thing, but there's a big difference. Those are two different processes. One is actually the formation of new vessels, and one is actually the transformation of existing vessels into basically bigger vessels. But they're not interchangeable. I just feel like if you're going to be trying to accurately discuss like penile anatomy and penile growth, that you need to be using arteriogenesis when you're talking about arteriogenesis and angiogenesis when you're talking about angiogenesis. And I'm proud of my boy BD because he has been incorporating more of that into his talks and using the appropriate terminology as well. So that being said, Angion's fine, guys. If you want to try it out, try it out. My biggest thing with it is it just takes forever. I mean, it doesn't take forever. I just don't have time to do a lot of additional things. And so I have like 15 minutes. Like I'm not going to take even 2 minutes of that, like going like this on my Johnson. Like to me, it just doesn't make sense to me personally. I don't know anybody that has gotten actually results outside of like alleged EQ gains. But now, guys, like do your own research. Don't listen to what I'm saying here because I have not done a deep dive into Angion. But from what I understand, part of the tenets of Angion is like you can't actually masturbate. If you can't masturbate, but yet you're going like this and stimulating your penis, like of course that's gonna lead to better erection quality because you're basically like edging all day. So Angion is fine. Check it out. I think it's in general a low risk. Now the things like saber strikes, like that is ridiculous to me. I think that is absolutely, you know, asinine. Whatever. At me, Janice Franz, whatever. I haven't even heard from him whatsoever. But anyways, guys, just do your own research. I don't believe in Angion. And the last part of this question, biggest tips for flaccid gains. Honestly, I think just doing PE in general, the first thing that's going to enlarge in any situation is going to be the flaccid size. For me, it was through pumping, and doing manuals. Because I think that as your stretch flaccid is going to increase, your actual flaccid increases as well. But certainly when I incorporated pumping as well, like even now, my flaccid has literally like doubled in size to the point when there are often times that my flaccid size is actually larger than my like prior like erect starting size was. I think that pretty much anything you do is going to help you achieve that. I think some sort of tension exercise like hanging, extending, or manual stretches for the like length elongation, and then especially pumping. I think that pumping is crucial for actual flaccid gains. So basically the same things that I've been preaching all along. But anyways, guys, this is a shorter video. Hopefully this was helpful. I appreciate the question and answer submissions from all of you guys. I will try to be doing more of these. If you find this helpful and you want me to do more QAs, please let me know in the comments, and that lets me know to do it. If you need to reach me, patreon.com. I appreciate you guys watching. Until the next one, peace and love, guys.